Good morning YouTube world. Today I want to talk to you about my Ford Transit custom van build. I suspect that many of you watching this clicked on the title thinking, yeah, I can relate to that. I can understand exactly why you might want to ask that question. And what I want to do is to lead you to the answers to that question, to lead you through the decisions that I took, to look at some of the costs that I incurred, and to look at some of the problems that I also may have. So you can see the basis of the storage units in this van, and I'll go through them in a little bit more detail, are around these units which I bought as kit form, and you can see some of the photographs of the kit being assembled. I was really impressed with the furniture kit. No real DIY skills needed and very simple tools. I used 2 beds to be able to pull them out fully and make a king-sized bed, and our friend Sarah made the cushions for us with a total price of around £700 all in. The cushion covers lift up to give 4 huge storage spaces, although it's a little awkward getting to them because of the weight of the cushions. I bought it from Camit Limited, a company based in West Yorkshire, and I have to say they've been a real success, and I think if I was to do this again, and if I were to move into the vehicle, I might even just take all of this out and move it into a second vehicle. It's provided a lot of flexibility in the way in which I store things, both in terms of food and equipment, so really good. And down underneath the bed you can see that there are really good storage units. So looking at things from the back of the van, you can see how the van is configured. Works really well for my wife and I. The table comes out and forms part of the unit that turns it into a double bed. In fact, it's not a double bed, it's actually bigger than that. It's actually the whole size of the vehicle. The result of having a full width and a full length bed, and I wish that sheet would go away, is that I don't have any storage units on the side. But what I have tried to do is with these mesh units, for example, and the orange, I'm not quite sure what you'd call it, the orange storage unit, it's got all sorts of things that you can put stuff into when you're going to sleep: toothbrushes, toothpaste, medication, deodorants, spare pants for the next day, iPads, phone chargers, and so on. Really quite useful. And then down at the back we've got these, what are the saddlebags of our touring bikes, which can get used for clothing and so on. Here at the side we've got some charging ports for USB chargers. They also power the fairy lights, because I have to say the LED lights that we put into are a bit like putting on the runway lights at Heathrow if you're trying to go to sleep. So what we do is we plug it, we put in the fairy lights, cost about a £5 off the internet, and they convert the lighting of an evening into something slightly more acceptable. And importantly, we can switch them on and off by just unplugging the USB cable. Think I'd do that again? Yeah. Water container, we don't have a fixed water tank. Am I happy about that? Very much so. Much prefer to use the flexibility of going and having this. It goes in the awning sometimes when we don't want it inside. The idea of having an underwater, not underwater, what is this? Some sort of submarine. The idea of having some underslung tanks or something like that, or the grey water taps, didn't really work for us. We had it in a previous camper van, and I think what we found was that we're more likely, because we don't go off grid, we don't wild camp on a campsite. I'd rather do the washing up in the campsite. So the water here is really just for drinking water and for filling up the kettle to make tea and things like that, maybe boiling rice. So Yeti storage box, good or bad? Well, I have to say it's I think it's good. I'm going to try and lift it. So Yeti storage, absolutely brilliant. There's the inside. It's empty at the moment because whilst we're not camping, why would we want to put ice blocks and so on? What is really good about this is the fact it is such a solid item. You can use it to sit on, you can use it as a step to get into the roof box and so on. Brilliant bit of kit, but expensive. I think we paid something like 200 and some pounds, 240 pounds, 250 pounds. Would I do that again? Probably not, actually. I think that's one of the areas that I might compromise on, because it's about the same price as a normal 12-volt fridge. And I think with the Bluetti, I think this is one of those areas. This is a sort of probably wouldn't repeat it, but who knows? I don't know. My wife likes it. It's great for putting in the awning, sitting on, cleaning your teeth, etc. So it has other uses. The first vehicle that we converted, we put a rock and roll bed in because we wanted to be able to have the extra two car seats with seat belts, thinking that that would be used for children and possibly grandchildren. What we found once we had this rock and roll bed going is that we didn't use the seat belts, we didn't use the seats for passengers, we did use the rock and roll bed, and it wasn't as comfortable as we would have liked. It was narrower, it was harder, and when you pulled it out at night, you had to keep the space in front of the rock and roll bed free of luggage and bits and pieces. You had to turf the dogs outside to be able to put the bed up. And we rapidly came to the conclusion that actually what we really wanted was a galley style bed, rather like the caravan that we used to have. The elephant in the room with this van is, why didn't I fit a pop top? Well, I spend a lot of time in the wilder parts of the UK where wind and rain occur all the time. I didn't want to spend over £4,000 effectively putting a tent on my van simply to be able to stand up. If it costs that much, I will bend down and enjoy listening to the wind and rain outside. So this is the interior of the Transit that I've converted. The furniture was bought from Camit, a company in Keighley. It comes as a kit and you assemble it. It takes a reasonable amount of time to do it, but it is quite straightforward. A numpty like me can manage it, and I don't really have any DIY skills. And it's quite basic, but on the other hand you can see that it works quite well in terms of finding space for storage. And there's one on the ground as well. Over on this cupboard here, this is where the inverter is kept. That's not working at the moment. I'm going to come on to that possibly in another video. And then just down the side, just where behind, if you take the drone out, you can see that's where the DC socket and a WSB socket there, and the ability to check the battery status. Then I've added a few extra bits and pieces, not using my fantastic DIY skills. You can see the shelving unit where I keep the kettle and the fan heater. And then over here, this is bought from Amazon, and it works really well. That's my cutlery drawer, keeps everything nice and organised and out of the way. Quite useful, I find these magnetic hooks. So there are some there, and if I just swing round over to here, there are also some on the door. You can just see them here. Very useful for hanging things like the van keys. A clip down the middle, the bungee, ubiquitous bungee, always very useful because you can hang all sorts of things on the other side. We'll have a look at that in a minute. The curtains from Caravan They actually were very straightforward on the curved windows. These came pre-curved, and I was really quite pleased with those. Moving around though, the storage, you can see there, that's velcroed to the side. Those curtain rails were not as easy to put in. They had to be bent, and I have to say that wasn't very straightforward until I actually bought a little tool that allows you to curve them around in a particular way. And you can see usefully these nets that put all sorts of bits and pieces in. So underneath the passenger seat, the leisure battery is installed. It's 110 amp hours and it's connected to the lights and the other sockets. You can see underneath the seat there's quite a lot of storage space for all sorts of electrical bits, and I try and keep my mechanical things in this section, so I know if I need to jump start something or if I need a socket set, it'll be underneath the passenger seat. I didn't do all of this work myself. The windows were put in for around £700. I have mentioned the Cammet furniture for a similar amount. Insulation and lining was around £250, and a company charged me around £750 for the electrical system and reversing camera. There are a number of important things I haven't shown, but I will add them into another video. How I cook, for example, how I charge my electrical kit, such as drones and laptops, how I set up the awning with a windbreak and porta potty, and how we transport the bikes when we are off for an adventure. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up, and if you did, then add any comments at the end. I haven't mentioned how I transport our bikes either on the tow bar. I will leave all of that for a future video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.